Good afternoon and welcome back to COMM Week 2021. If this is your first time joining us for the day, you missed out on an extremely informational session earlier this morning with our public media panel. So it was hosted by Mr. John Hughes, who is the general manager of our on-campus radio station, KPVU-FM. And it was our largest panel of the week. So we had a number of voices chiming in to talk about the wide variety of career opportunities that exist in the world of public media. I would encourage you, if you missed it, to go back and revisit that session, as well as any of the other sessions from earlier in the week by going to the link you see on the screen, pvamutv.org/CommWeek. Now, believe it or not, this is actually our last live streaming session of the week. Tomorrow is going to be devoted solely to the career fair. So if you haven't registered for that, you should head over to the Handshake platform, search for Communications Virtual Career Fair, and you can register for that event, which will be happening from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. tomorrow. Now this afternoon, our session is titled Balancing Between Worlds, Versatility in Media Careers. And we've got a very special guest with us today, Mr. Marcus Sullivan. Marcus is the morning show host at 91.7 FM NGEN Radio in Houston, Texas. He's also the owner and founder of the online radio platform Blessed Beatz, and he's a freelance reporter for TMZ as well. So he's going to talk to us about, how he juggles these things and how he got to where he is today. Just as a quick reminder, if you want to ask questions of our guest, you can do that through YouTube, through Facebook, through Twitter. Simply insert your comments or questions and we will feed those into the broadcast. So at this time, we want to welcome Marcus. And I'm just going to open it up with a very general question and say, what's your story? Tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got there.
You just made it real easy. First, I'll answer that. I just want to say thank Prairie for even allowing me to have this opportunity. So for those who are watching now or even on a rebroadcast, I too know your position. I sat in those chairs and I didn't attend PV. I attended University of Houston, but I know the struggle of working in communications. So my story, I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. I got to Texas on a football scholarship to the University of Houston. And when I first got there, I was just like any other freshman, just kind of bright-eyed and trying to figure out what I wanted to do with life. I'm 18, I'm 19, and it was literally about sports. And I got here and I had to pick a major, and my major that I actually picked was engineering. And University of Houston is big on the engineering program, and I figured Houston, Texas, NASA, not knowing much, I want to work for NASA, so I'm going to be an engineer. Little did I know I could not pass chemistry class, and so that changed my whole dynamic in the first place. And I actually remember giving my mom the phone call. Back in my day, giving her the phone call saying on a payphone saying, "Mom, I'm changing my major." And she said, "To what?" And so I said, "I want to be an actor." She hung up the phone on me, right? So fast forward, I changed my major to communications because I felt I was getting closer toward the end of my football career. And I was like, if I can't play football on the next level, I want to at least work around sports or broadcast. So I kind of just picked that because of my interest in sports. Little did I know that was my calling in the beginning. And even if I go back further to the beginning of speaking my calling, I remember being in high school and my best friend, he told me about a class called RTV, radio television. And I was like, man, I'll never do anything silly like that, right? I remember the show Martin had just came out, and on the show Martin he was a radio personality. And I used to watch that show and be like, look how silly he looks. I'll never do anything like that, right? But as God would have it, here I am, 20 years later. But so to fast forward, I changed my major to communications, and I started taking like the voice acting classes and acting 1 and acting 2 and advanced acting 2. And I literally thought my acting career was taking off. And I did some national things. I did a national Gatorade commercial, and I did the TV show Unsolved Mysteries was big at the time. So I started doing stuff like that. I'm thinking, man, maybe I need to move to LA. I'm the next Denzel. And so I started picking up internships, which I encourage anybody watching to pick up internships. And do me a favor, if you guys are watching and you want to jump in the comments, go ahead and jump in the comments, because I'll address you right then and there. All right. So I started picking up internships, and I had an internship at Miramax Films. And I was trying to think before we started this, is it still around? I think it's Columbia now, but it was Miramax Films at the time. And it was 5 interns for the whole country, and I had one of them. So that was like a big win for me. And I covered Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, just kind of the whole southern region of movie promotions, right? And I remember promoting the movie Scream and Scream 2 and all of this stuff. And so I thought I was on my way to doing the film thing. And I had a part-time job. This is at the end of my football career. I was full-time in school, had an internship, and I picked up a part-time job, just like I'm sure a lot of you are doing now. And my job was at CarMax, and my people that are in PV, you might know the CarMax that's on 59 South. I know you're watching Worldwide or whatever, but it's on the Southwest Freeway, that CarMax. And my job was to literally prep the cars. Prep the cars meaning you come in and buy a car. My job is to clean it up, make it smell good, and bring it to you. Here, Mr. Sullivan, here are your keys. I hated that job, right? I hated it because it gave me so much esteem issues. I'm bringing people BMWs, and I had to go get back in my Dodge Neon. And so I was like, man, one of these days I'm going to drive this Land Rover. One of these days I'm going to drive out of here in a BMW. And that was like my motivation. And I was like, I got to find something. This communication thing has to jump off. And I remember my boss at the time told me, Marcus, when you're prepping the cars, we don't want you to put it on any radio stations, because we don't want the person who's buying it to think, somebody of another race was listening or had the car before me. Now I don't want it, right? So they wanted to just program them on static free stations that don't exist. And I was like, if I got to clean it, I'm going to jam out, right? So at the time, I'm like 22, and I'm looking for 97.9 The Box, right? The hip hop station in Houston. I'm looking for it. And so I hit seek on the dial, and it stops on 97.5, right? And I'll never forget, the song that was coming on was Mary J. Blige. That Let's Get It Crunk Up on Up, for that song was coming on. And so I was like, I guess I'm here, right? So I'm jamming and I'm cleaning out the car. Song goes off and a commercial comes on, and I remember it, and I'm telling you my story because it's scarred into my system. Commercial comes on and it goes, ksh, 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 the new Power 97.5, looking for interns. That's what the commercial said. And I just kind of stopped. I was like, okay, internship, right? And so I wrote it down. I'm left-handed, so I wrote it down in my right hand. And the remainder of the day, I'm washing cars left-handed. That lets you know what year I'm talking, because now we just remember .coms, right? But I get home that night, and I log on, and I see the on-air lineup, and the morning show guy was a member of my fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi. Any Kappas out here? Jump in the comments if you want to right now, right? So he's a member of my fraternity. I just crossed, right? And so I sent him an email, and he was just like, come to the radio station. Let you know the era that we're in, because you can't do that today, right? And so I go up to the radio station, and I'm trying to dress the part. And I got a full suit on, slacks, shoes. It's 4 a.m. And I get to the radio station door. At the time, it was connected to the Galleria. And he comes to the door, and this is the era of the do-rag headband, hat to the back, saggy. This is the Jersey era I'm talking about, right? I'll tell you guys what year it is in a second. So I get to this moment, and he opens the door, and I'm so confused. And he starts laughing, and he goes, I just want to let you know, before you walk through this door, radio is about your personality. Now, fast forward, we're in 2021. It is a lot to do with visual. You watching me on a visual right now. You have social media, you have live. But at the time, it was about painting pictures with your personality. And that was the first lesson that I learned, right? You don't have to look a part. You have to be a part, right? So I walked into the station. And if you're watching this, if you got a part-time job, or you had a part-time job, and you've had that overzealous coworker or boss who's, man, cross all dots, let's make sure we do everything right, and you say to yourself, this ain't the rest of my life. This is what he gonna do forever. that moment hit me. I walked into the radio station and I looked around and I took a big, deep inhale. And I said to myself, this is the rest of my life, right? Literally at that moment, I fell in love with radio. Love at first sight. Walking into a studio, didn't see the board, didn't see the buttons. Walking into the building, I looked around and I was like, this is it. This is the rest of my life. And so he shows me around. It's early in the morning. I leave. He plugs me. I get an internship. My first day on the intern was, 100 people came in for the internship class, which we know now that doesn't exist anymore either. But 100 of us showed up. And I'm looking at 99 other people who worked at a record label, got degrees, already knowing that they wanted to do radio. And I literally found it from a commercial, something that I said was silly. And I looked around that room and I said to myself, I'm the best in here. Didn't even know anything about radio. That was just the competitive side of me. I remember out of that class, 3 of us made it out. 3 of us made it out. 20 years later, I'm the only one that's still in radio. So that's how I got introduced to radio. At that point, my very first day, and I think this is a very good part of my story, my very first day on my internship was probably the most historic day in American history. If you're watching, can you guess what day that was? I'll give you a second to think about it. My first day on my internship was probably hands down the most historical day in United States history. Can anybody guess what that is? If you said 9/11, you are correct. Imagine starting your career, your job on a day like 9/11. I remember being in the back room, brand new intern, nervous, not knowing what to do. And he says, go find me some news. And I go into the other room. I see you, Latasha. I go into the other room and I come back and I go, man, I think a plane hit a building in New York. And he was like, nah, no way, right? So we go on. Matter of fact, that morning, people that know Houston, the Williams Tower, I think it used to be called the Transco Tower back then. That's still one of the biggest buildings in Houston. The big story was a man tried to scale the side of it and he actually fell and the news were outside and all. That was the big story that morning until that happened, right? And so, 45 minutes, hour later, I go, nah, another plane hit a building. So that took over my day, right? And took over everybody's day and the rest of our lives. And I remember the program director comes in and he goes, you're going to have a really good career. Looked me right in the face and told me that. And I was like, why? And he goes, you will not have another day as tight and strict as this day ever. And I was like, wow, okay. So 9/11, do the math, was my first day as an internship. Hadn't graduated yet. 2002 comes. I graduate in May. And I remember my graduation was at Minute Maid Park. And I actually went to the University of Houston and University of Houston downtown at the same time. I'm sorry, I should have told you that. But I was an RA, played football, pledged the whole 9. I walk across the stage, so I'm getting a lot of cheers when I'm walking across the stage. And the dean shakes my hand and goes, Marcus, what are you gonna do now? And I'm like, a lot of y'all, and I'm hyping. I'm like, I'm gonna take over the world, right? And he goes, no, what are you gonna do? And I go, man, I don't know, right? So he points to the screen and Power 97.5, where I had been interning this whole time, took an ad out and put it on the jumbo screen and said, you're hired, right? So the crowd goes crazy. And I'm like, wow, I still got the picture. And it's just an amazing feeling. So graduation happened. So now Monday rolls around. It's the first day of work now, right? There's no more internship. It's the first day of work. And I go in and I fill out my W-2s and all of that, and they tell me what I'm getting paid. Can anybody guess? I made it into radio. I'm in Houston, Texas. I got a degree. Let's go. What do you think I was getting paid? 2002 is the year.
Can't be much. We all know it can't be much.
If you said $6.25 an hour, you would be correct. $6.25 an hour was my first job with a 5-year degree in communications. And I remember telling my mom, I'm filling out the paper. And she literally started crying. And she goes, and some of you that's in communications will feel me. Your peers and your parents, grandparents, it will be hard to convince them that this is a job because it's entertainment, but it's business, right? And a lot of people will see it as, if you're not Denzel, if you're not Beyonce, if you're not LeBron, you're not making no money. They don't see anything but the top of the industry, right? This industry is filled with people that are swimming and swimming well, not being the star. And I'll tell you my story about that. So $6.25 an hour. I'm working, I'm grinding. I'm one of the only interns that made it out. Again, I fell in love with the radio station. So I would be at home in my little apartment on Dunville, and I would be at the point where if I wasn't at the radio station, I was depressed. Almost like if you've ever been in love, man, where's she at? Where he at? Hey, boo, that was me with the radio station. So I would go up to the radio station and literally sit and look out of the window until it was time for something to do. And I remember he's now my mentor, and I actually talked to him yesterday. He told me, yo, come over here. And he put me on the mic and introduced me to the city. And I fell in love, so nervous, fell in love with talking on the air. And I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. Now, today, a lot of you have the ability to podcast and blog and radio and TV and live, everything. People want to start there. It took me 6 years to crack the mic again. I started driving the van. I would drive the van on the weekends, and then kind of break in, holidays and move around. Fast forward, 2004 comes, the radio station goes out of business on Christmas Eve. And our Christmas party turned out to be our going away party. So it was Merry Christmas, here's your severance check, right? So we're out. So I moved from the station goes out of business, which today I think is ESPN 97.5, but it used to be Power. So I go over to 104.1 KRBE, pop station, different culture, different type of people. I'd never been around those people. And I interview, this is a pivotal part of my career too. I interviewed 5 times. I'll never forget this. And I told myself, I'll never put anybody through this. I interviewed 5 times for the same $10 an hour job. I interviewed with the same person 5 times. What can I say on the 3rd time that I didn't say the first time, let alone the 5th time? What I found out later is, and just being honest, they wanted to make sure that I was the right person for the job. I'll say that. But I ended up getting the job, and as God would have it, I stayed there 9 months. Party 104.9, it was the competition to 97.9. I was kind of bitter because 97.9 never hired me, so I wanted to be their competition. All right, so I'll pause right there and I'll say this. If there is a job out there that you want to do, back then I had the T-Mobile Sidekick joint where we would flip the Sidekick, but now we got these, and you can set alerts. And I set an alert on my phone every 5th of the month that I would apply for a different radio station and a TV station on the 5th of every month. So every other month, that company was getting an email from me. And listen, I'll tell you this, rejection is absolutely a good thing. Get your no's out of the way. They can only tell you no so many times before either you quit or they quit, one of the two, right? And so I would apply all the time. So I'm at Party 104.9, and my job at the time was full-time, got a full-time job. Wasn't really still paid. It was like $15 an hour. Now I'm moving on up, right? 4 years into the game, I've moved up. And my job was to drive the van, promotional driver, right? I would drive the van during the daytime, and I would do all of the club thing, putting up the banners, carrying the speakers. That was my job. And so for my people that want to be stars, we starting off carrying speakers, right? And so I remember being out in the streets. I created this thing called the Party 4 at 4, where I would drive around and I would put different companies on the radio, the number 1 song, the number 2 song, and I would do this at 4 o'clock every day. Well, the big time DJ was on the air. He loved it. So he would put my 4 at 4 on the air. So every day I was on the air, just live in the streets. So I'm grinding. And the program director was in town, and he heard me on the air. Mind you, now I'm at my third radio station, but I'm driving the van. So he goes, "Hey, you ever been on the radio?" I thought I did something bad, so I straight up and lied and said, "Nah, I just drive the van." So he says, that's the only time a lie got me ahead. He goes, "Man, you're good. Can you come back to the radio station?" Now, I get to the radio station. He goes, "I love your voice. I love your sound. I love your name." I was going by Memphis at the time. He goes, "Midnight tonight, I'm giving you a shot. You're on the air from midnight to 1. You need a show name. You need to have stuff to talk about, this whole night. Never been on the air, but I've been working in the background this whole time." So I go home, and this is the Little John era. And I figured I don't know much, so all I would do is get on the air and shout for an hour. I called the show the Crunkest, and I said Crunkest, the Crunkest Hour in Radio. That was the name of my show. And I figured midnight to 1, people was leaving the club. Yo, they're inebriated. I'm just gonna be yelling. And so, being a promotional driver, I would drive to the clubs and set up everything, hang out for a little while every party's going, and I would break down in the station truck and I would leave. So at this point, people started knowing that's Memphis. That's the guy who drives the van. And then when they're leaving the club, "Yo, I just saw you at the club. You on the air?" So I'm building my brand. At the time, I didn't know I was building my brand. So my program director goes, "If you're ever late and if you ever miss, you're done." Did he talk about money? No. Gave me an opportunity. So I grinded, and I called it the Crunkest Hour in Radio. And I would literally say, "Man, shout outs to Derek. Shout outs to Derek. I saw him at the club." And more people would listen. So I did that. All-Star Weekend 2004 or 5, whatever year it was, I can't remember, came to town. Now, remember the era that we're in. We're before digital content was really booming, before Facebook, Instagram, and all of this. But 2004 or 5, All-Star Weekend is in town. You guys know how All-Star works. Every major urban hip-hop celebrity is in town. Everybody's here. It's the Super Bowl, right? And I'm still doing the 4 at 4. The big time jock, Mean Green, goes, "Hey, why don't you try to sneak into the NBA celebrity game live on the radio at 4 o'clock or at 5 o'clock now on a Friday, All-Star Weekend." This is post 9/11, y'all. So I literally was on the phone with him, and I was like, "Bro, I could go to jail for that." And he goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Yeah." Right? So I'm driving the van. I'm live on the air on the phone, talking to the DJ. He's technically streaming his whole thing on the air. So everybody's listening in town. Mind you, there's no big social media. So radio is the big thing. Everybody's listening at 5 p.m. Friday, All-Star Weekend. I parked the truck. I'm going to the doors at the Toyota Center. "Hey, I'm Memphis. I'm from Party 1049. I'm trying to get in." "No, you got to go down there, sir. No, you got to go over there." All of this is live on the air. And it was, if that was today, that would have been viral, right? Grace of God, I get into the celebrity game and live on the radio. And I remember Diddy calling the radio station, 50 calling the radio station. "Yo, that was crazy. That was crazy." So now my name went from driving the van to being the guy on the air at midnight to that's the guy that broke into All-Star Weekend. Fast forward, Mean Green goes out of town on vacation, and now I have this buzz, and now I'm on the air filling in for him. And fast forward, he was an old radio personality. He ended up retiring like 6 months later, and I had a show. So I built my brand off of like a whole grind. I ended up leaving hip hop. Talk money. Anytime you guys want to talk about any categories of radio or TV, just drop the category, and I got a story for it. It could be how you get the job, money, or whatever. But how did I get my first bag, right? How did I get my first bag? While I was doing all of that grinding, I ended up finding a job in production, which is background. Somebody right now, while you guys are watching this, somebody's working our screens where you can see me full screen, double screen. I was that person. I was the production person in the background. And that first job paid $48,000 a year. So boom, I'm okay at this point. I think I was like 26, 27, 50 grand. Oh, I'm balling, right? And so I was doing the commercials and everything in the background. But I still drove the van. I still had the night show. I started getting endorsements. This is how I got my first bag. I had a club appearance 5 nights a week at $100 an hour for 2 hours. Can anybody you watching rewind if you need to? Do the math on that. 5 nights a week, 2 hours a night, $100 an hour. It's $200 a day, 5 days a week. It's $1,000. How many weeks in a year? 52. 52 plus my 48. Boom, I got a bag. 6 figures in the game, right? 27 years old, had a little condo, had a little motorcycle, had a little Mercedes, paying for grandma's house note. Everything is good. Everybody's happy. My mom is now believing I didn't have to work in the warehouse, and I'm just the production guy and the overnight guy in radio. Then endorsements came. So I think my first big year in radio, and I use this part as my testimony. I ended up at like $126K a year, going to the club and doing commercials. That's how I got my first bag. Fast forward, I've been a person of faith my whole life. I literally got tired of doing clubs and smoke-filled rooms, and I wanted to get back toward my faith where I first started back at 97.5. I remember, this is the era a lot of you really don't remember. Lil Wayne had the Lollipop record. He was the hottest artist in the world at this time. I ain't gonna even try to do the lyrics right now because I don't need to be going screenshot, right? But that song was big, and he was doing an album release at I think it was called T-Town at the time. I can't remember. And I was hosting it, and that was the first time in my career. I get off the air, and I go over to the club. I'm driving a Hummer. And I parked, and I remember, if you still go to the clubs, it still may happen. I don't know. I'm not in the clubs. But they had a line of women and a line of men standing outside the club. It's just the effect of making the club look like it's packed. And so when I pulled up, I did naturally what any man would do, flossing. I pulled up and I went on the women's side, right? So I'm going over there and I'm talking and I'm kikiing, right? And some guy on the other side goes, "Hey, Memphis, you live over there in those apartments off of ... And I say, "Yeah." For the first time in my career, I realized somebody knew me that I didn't know. You knew where I lived, right? And that's when it hit me. Being a public figure is not really as cracked up as it is, because when you start thinking about little things, I mean, people want to be known with the likes and the follows, but when somebody know where your door is and you don't know them, that's kind of spooky, right? So I remember that night I go into the club, and it just felt like everybody and their mama was a rapper. Everybody that night was a rapper. And I was just like, okay, I'm tired of this. Y'all, I tell y'all, I quit a 6-figure job. I just broke down the money. I quit a 6-figure job. I called Praise 92.1, and I asked if they have any opportunities. The lady said, "Marcus, you got the #1 weekend show in the city. Unfortunately, I don't have any opportunities, but I do have a promotions job driving the van for $10 an hour." Ask me, did I take the job? If you said yes, you would be correct. I took the job, and I'll say this part in this story where don't chase the money. Do not chase the money. Do not chase the money. All right, it comes, it goes up, it goes down, get late. Don't chase the money, because it will define your career. You'll be depressed if you don't have a job, if you're chasing money. So I take the $10 an hour job, and as God would see it, I'm working around my faith. I'm working at a gospel station. It's the Yolanda Adams Morning Show, brand new station. I leave hip hop. I lose a lot of friends. I lose a lot of Facebook, Instagram wouldn't even pop. I lose a lot of Facebook friends, text message friends, people I worked out with, Nelly and Fifth. Those people gone in my life. And I remember Yolanda Adams knew me from hip hop. And so she was like, "Why don't you produce my morning show?" And I was like, okay, better than driving the van. So I started producing a morning show. And if you guys remember that morning show, the morning show got really, really big, but that gave me another opportunity to get back in front of the mic. And I stayed at Radio 1 for 5 years. And I launched, I was co-host to a show called the Friday Night Praise Party. And it was kind of like Christian hip hop, right? It really wasn't even Christian hip hop. It was more like Ty Tribbett and Kirk Franklin hype gospel music. So I was doing that. And again, my career is just like Martin. Y'all remember the episode on Martin where the radio station went out? That was me. All right, so 5 years I'm over at Prairie doing my thing, and the station goes out of business again. Second station, right? Well, I'm sorry, rewind. When I'm at Prairie, 6 months into my $10 an hour, leaving my six-figure job, Party goes out of business. So I was saved by the grace of God. That station goes away, and I remember my friends that were at Party, Kiati. A lot of those people was like, Memph, can you give me a job now where you are? So I left. I jumped off of the Titanic with a lot of money, and I went for the career. I was the only one who had a career after that. Kiati ultimately ended up getting a job on the box while I was at Prairie. But fast forward, I'm at Prairie 5 years, and the station is going out of business. And at the time, I had an internship. Remember back in the story when I said on the 5th of every month I would be applying? I would be applying on the 5th. Now I'm like 7 years into my career. I still applying. And I used to get rejection letters. I got a stack. I should put them out. I got a stack of rejection letters, right? From Fox 26. I used to want to work there. And I was interning for the Texans and the Rockets, and I was working for Praise. Remember, I'm back to $10 an hour, and I'm grinding again. So I had all of these little paid internships trying to make ends meet. Just got married, had my first kid. Wifey looking at me like I'm crazy because the Mercedes done got repo. It's all kind of things, right? So station goes out of business, but the fact that I had the sports background, they flipped the station into a news station, a TV news station, well, a radio news station. And I was a sports reporter. I don't know how I got the credentials to do it, but maybe because it was my internships as God would see it, right? So now I am a sports reporter for News 92 FM. This station was brand new. I never even thought it would last. So I'm just doing my thing. And I remember being on the treadmill at 24-hour fitness, and the Boston bombing happens. Guys, remember the Boston bombing. It happens while I'm running on the treadmill. I grabbed my phone. I think it was a BlackBerry now at the time I graduated. And I tweet. I literally tweet, man, an explosion at the hashtag Boston Marathon, right? Fox 26 retweets me. Now, mind you, I'm working at News 92, and I'm like, oh, Fox retweeted me. 10 seconds later, I get a DM from Fox and was like, hey, what do you do at News 92? And I'm like, oh, I do sports. And they was like, have you ever wanted to do digital content for a TV station? And I was like, absolutely. From my tweet in my DM, after 5-6 years of applying on the 5th of every month, I get an interview at Fox 26. Never applied once, right? They called me for that. I'm sending resume after resume, but when it became to that part, they called me. So I go over there. Now I'm in my suit. I'm in my suit because it's TV. And I'm at that moment. I'm sitting at the table, nervous. I done spent 8 years at this point. Obama just became president. I'm sitting at the table and I'm like, I don't know what to say for TV people. I don't know. So I just figured I would use the same, real story, use the same tactics that I would use on a first date. If I can make them laugh, I got the job. So I threw out the corniest joke that I could to break the ice, and they fell out laughing, and I get the job, right? I get the job. So I leave radio. I'm working at Fox 26 as a digital content creator. These jobs are common now. Wasn't common then. They found me through a tweet, right? Built a department. I guess they found other people, built a department. And now today, people follow, the KHOU Instagram. We follow these accounts now, but this didn't exist back then, right? So this job, and you're watching this right now. I see you, Teresa. You're watching this right now. There are jobs out there that are called digital content creators. Any company. I'm not even saying TV. We are communications people here. Coca-Cola, FedEx, everybody has a digital department. If they have a Twitter page or Instagram, they got a digital department. They got a website, they have a digital department. That job, $65,000 a year to do social media. I'm gonna let that sink in. $65,000 a year to do social media. And so when, like the title, we're balancing between two worlds, I'm using my gift of communication to maneuver through my career. I never said I was a star at this moment ever. I've been in radio 8 years. I'm 6 months into TV. I'm $65K a year. It is great. Benefits are amazing. I work for Fox News, y'all. It is great. And I remember my news director comes over by my desk. Marcus, what's going on Facebook? And just like everybody else's job, when the boss come around, we put the phone away because we're not supposed to be on, we're getting off of the web. And I literally said, I don't know. He said, well, what am I paying you for? Right. So that put me as the news junkie. I started finding sites and stations and info and contacts that I wouldn't go to. My point in that part is for you guys. Yeah, you might love hip hop. You might love blog sites. You might love news. Be so well-rounded that you know a little bit of that you can walk in any room and talk about anything. I'm watching the headline news right now, right? I love sports. You kind of just stay in the loop of everything, especially if radio is what you want to do. Stay into the field of radio. Don't worry about just the station. Don't worry about just the box. Find out the country station. Find out the jazz station, because those are all jobs, paying jobs. All right. So I'm at Fox at the time, and I moved up to being a high school sports reporter. It was the first time in my career I had a contract. My contract said Isaiah Carey's still over there. It's my guy. All of my ties came from Isaiah because he would give me the stuff that he would not wear. And in my contract, believe it or not, this is how TV works. My contract, and ladies, if you're on here, it's even worse for you guys because they'll have it in your contract. No, you can't have a baby. Not right now. Right? They'll have it in your contract. No, you can't get over 100 whatever pounds. That'll be in your contract, but you can negotiate that with your pay rate. Right? I can't have no kids. That's going to be an extra 15. Whatever. Right? My contract said I could not wear any pastel colors. That was in my contract. I couldn't wear pastel because Isaiah put it on the news tonight. You're going to see him. He's going to have some pastel on. That's what he liked. And we were the only two black men on camera. So now that I told you that, go through any station and look at their roster. They got a category for everybody. They got the bald sports guy. They got the blonde reporter. They got the short hair brunette anchor. They got the straight up. They got something for everything, right? So I learned this at this point in his career, right? You may be qualified. Matter of fact, I will say this. You are probably qualified for the job. Yes. But do you fit the roster? Right? So it's not a way of discriminating. It's a way of being to be the image of a city or the town that you're going into, right? So yes, you may get hired because you're that black person. Maybe. You may not get hired because you're that black person. You just got to look at it like that. So I would encourage a lot of people to not worry so much about like the EEOC stuff, but just look at the roster, right? Now, if they don't have anything that looks like you, now you got a question. Or am I even good enough at that point? But at the same time, you have to look at some things and go, do I fit? You can't have 3 big men on a team and you're playing against a team with all small. You gotta be able to fit into that realm. All right, so I'm doing sports. My contract said no pastel colors. It said no hair on my head, no facial hair. So I was going to be the bald sports guy. So, and I'm so glad, Derek, that you don't have this picture, because I was going to say, I actually like the picture, and it's on my Instagram somewhere on there, of my first day of sports. And people go, man, you look older back then. I'm like, wait, what? Right? No hair. I'm looking like, but I covered high school sports for a little while. And then I get the call to come back to radio. How I got this call, I, again, was at 24-Hour Fitness. It seemed like every time I go on the treadmill at 24-Hour Fitness, I get a job, right? I'm on the treadmill at 24-Hour Fitness, and an old coworker hit me and goes, hey, it's about to be another hip-hop station in town. And I go, really? And they said, they're launching it at noon. So I ran over to iHeart, which is competition to the Box and Praise and all of that. And they were launching 93.7 The Beat. Launched 93.7 The Beat. And I broke the story as a TV reporter. And the general manager goes, thank you so much for doing that story on us, because 26 did it, which ABC 13 did it, which Channel 2 did it, which Channel 11 did it, I think 55. And so I gave them instant advertising. I wasn't even trying to. I was just hyped to see another station come to town. So talking to people around the city, he goes, yo, you used to work in radio, right? I was like, yeah. He was like, you want to come back? And I was like, nah, y'all talking $15 an hour. They're talking $65,000 to do digital. I'm good, right? And so I thought my radio career was over. Until one day my wife says, do you realize you can be the only black man in a major market, 4th largest city in the country, to be able to be on major TV and major radio? And I was like, wow. Only person I could think of was Michael Strahan. It's the only person I could think of. And I was just like, let's do it. So I told the guy no 3 times. I told the guy no this. Mind you, remember just early in the story, I was like, I'm applying every 5th of the month. Now I'm so big time. I'm telling them no. But I remember getting out of my car at my interview and I go, Marcus, I don't care what number he says in front of you. Tell him no. Right? Take this part of the advice on as you want to take it. You can use it or not, right? I'm praying in the car at my interview. Mind you, I'm full-time at Fox. Got a great job. God is good. I walk in there and I'm sitting across from him just like I'm sitting across from you. And he goes, Marcus, here's the number. And before I can even look at it, I go, nope, I'm good. Thank you very much. And he looked at me like, wait, what? And I was like, nah, I'm good. And the reason, they found the picture. They found the picture. There you go. There we go. Right? That's me doing high school sports.
Can barely recognize you.
Wow. Y'all are quick. I love it. So I'm sitting there. And I tell him no. And he's like, wow. So I leave. My heart is beating hard. I'm like, I cannot believe I just told iHeart no. Can I believe it? Where am I? Who am I? Who is this guy? Right? My heart told me to say no for this reason. It was my art of negotiation, right? Fellas, if you're watching this, or ladies that are still watching this, think about, ladies, you don't really have to worry about this. But guys, when you make that step to that girl, you're trying to bring your best to their game. But not in the world of business. They try to bring you in on where they want you, right? So if I told you no out the beginning and you really wanted me, the next time you come, you're going to come even. You're going to come correct. That was my attitude. So I saved his number in my phone. Maybe 2 weeks later, I'm in my backyard. Nothing to do. Cutting the grass. And the phone rings. I got the Bluetooth joint in my ear. And I see his name on it. And as bold as I could. Because I know if you call me, you really want me. If you call me, you want me. Right? I answer the phone while the lawnmower is going. Hello. And the guy goes, Marcus? And I go, yeah, what's going on? He was like, man, you're not doing too much. And I was like, nah, I'm cutting grass. What's going on? And so he was like, let's revisit the conversation. So he ended up giving me 40 grand, 65 in radio. I'm back, y'all. I'm back into my bag again, right? So I take it. Now, mind you, at this point of the story, I'm 12 years into my career, 12, 13 years maybe into my career. And hear me when I say this. I still got 2 jobs. 2. Am I the star yet? No. I've had 2 6-figure contracts, 2 jobs. For my lazy people, 2 jobs, right? A kid and a wife, 2 jobs, right? So that's part of the grind because I said, remember at the beginning of this, I said, this is the rest of my life, right? So you have to really Mamba mentality, Kobe Bryant mentality, like you really have to dive into if this is what you want, right? You really gonna work your way to being Tom Joyner. Yo, you got to do this, right? So I'm working at 93.7 The Beat, and I'm working at Fox. My true love is radio. TV kind of started fizzling out. My contract was ending. I wanted to grow my hair back. Whatever. I'm out. Peace. Right. I leave. I get a call from Charlemagne. Y'all know Breakfast Club. Charlemagne. And he goes, bro, why don't you produce? Used to produce Yolanda Adams. I'm like, yeah. And he was like, why don't you produce the Breakfast Club? And I was like, cool. The Breakfast Club? Me? Okay. So fly off to New York. And I'm in there and I'm interviewing. They get along, I get along. And fear, first time in my career, really kicked in. Real life fear. And I'm in New York. This is the Breakfast Club. And I'm like, what happens? This is what's going through my head. I go, what happens if we don't get along? Y'all are the Breakfast Club. I'm the producer. I'm in New York with this new baby and his wife. And we from the South. Nah, I'm good. Thank you, but no thank you. Right? And they looking like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, because if I get up here, I mean, it's fun and games until you got to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning with me telling you what to do. It ain't cute no more. Now you Charlemagne, remember? And he started laughing, and I did not take the job. I was just like, okay, let me negotiate this. And I go, if I can produce the job from Houston, I'd take a third less money. They looked at me like I was crazy, but I was saving the company money. I'm still going to do the full-time job. Now I just don't have to live in New York. That's what I did. That's what I did. Now I'm still in Houston, and I have the credential. Now we're in the clout era. I have the credential of saying, man, I am the producer of the world's most dangerous morning show. So my talent fees and my appearance fees went through the roof. So the money that I did not take to move to New York, I made it back, because if you wanted somebody from the Breakfast Club in here in Houston, who are you going to call? You're going to call the producer. And I'm showing up to your book signings. I'm showing up to your car dealerships. So I got endorsements for being that in Houston. Have to be smart. You have to be smart, right? So I'm producing the Breakfast Club. And mind you, I'm not on the air. I'm just producing. And the afternoon guy at 93.7 goes on vacation. So the program director asked me to fill in. And I was like, nah, I'm good. All I remember is the last 3 years, 5 years, I've been doing TV, whatever. But I cracked the mic just to fill in because she didn't have anybody. And the bug got bit by the bug of being on the air again. So now I'm the morning show producer, and I take the weekend job of being on the air. At this time, y'all, this is my favorite part of the story, and I'll speed it up. I wasn't so much into hip hop that much anymore. Just the lifestyle of hip hop. And so I went to the program director. It was a brand new program director at the time. And I go, yo, I want to do something different. And he goes like, what? And I said, man, I want to play Christian hip hop right here on a Sunday. And he looks at me and says, man, 93.7 The Beat is a $25 million a year radio station. I'm not stopping this music for your little gospel stuff. I'm not being not Christian or whatever, but this is business, bro. And I was just like, wow. So I gotta do the bebop, right? And so he was just like, well, I tell you what. If you do it online and show me that there's a market for it, I'd consider it. I walked out of that meeting and I was heartbroken and I was so mad. But today I'm so thankful for that. That no, and you can use this too. That no that somebody's telling you, it sparks something in you to do something else. You wanted to do it anyway. So I created Blessed Beatz. I'm working at 93.7 The Beat. I created Blessed Beatz, right? I created it, not iHeart, not 93.7 The Beat. I created it. I created the website because he said it. Show it to me online, and maybe I'll try it. Mind y'all, we're in Houston. Biggest church in America is around the corner. It's Black hip hop positive artists everywhere. So I tap back into my days at Praise and my time at Fox, and I literally get on Instagram at the time, and I go, any rapper want to come up to the radio station? That's how I worded it. Any rapper want to come up to the radio station? Come up this Saturday. I had a line out the door. A line out the door. He said, prove it to him online. He didn't say, show me that gospel rap or Christian hip hop. He said, prove it to me, and that's what I did. I said, any rapper want to come to, think about that. Any rapper come to the radio station, they're on the way. I'm at the beat, yeah. So I got cameras, and I sat there in the studio, and just like a car wash, I tapped into my TV interviewing skills, and it was a car wash, one after the next, 10-minute interviews. And I would interview them, and I had all of this footage. And what they was doing was going live on Facebook, going live on Instagram, and they was shouting, man, I'm on the Blessed Beat show. I'm at the beat. I'm at 93.7. I'm on the Blessed Beat show. So I created a buzz out of this world for like 48 hours, right? And the reason, what I did to tie it into Christian hip hop was I asked 2 questions about faith. Man, how is your relationship with God? That turned the whole thing. So after a few interviews, and it's on my Blessed Beats YouTube page, they went extremely viral, extremely viral, right? One of the interviews is Dr. Umar Johnson, and that's close to 1 million views today, right? And it's under Blessed Beats Media. Blessed Beats Dr. Umar, you can look it up. And I do this interview, and this interview goes insane. TMZ calls, wanted a clip of the interview, and then they asked me about me, and I told them this story that I'm telling you. And TMZ goes, bro, you want a job? Hear me when I said this. My grind was my resume. I never try to apply at TMZ. I'll wait. We all await. Go try. You're not there. I don't even know if they even have an application process for it. I don't even know. They found me through the grind, right? So I take the job at TMZ. Remember, I just said how I went to New York and I turned them down. I go to LA and they say the same thing. You want to be a reporter for TMZ? And I was like, no, right? I know my point. I know my purpose. My purpose is radio. I'm killing Houston. I'm 6 figures now, right? And so, I'm sorry, I'm 6 figures radio, and I got my own brand at the time, right? So I go, nah, I'm good. Well, how about you just cover stuff in the region? And I'm like, we could do that. I'll take less money because now I stamp TMZ on my resume. I stamp the Breakfast Club on my resume. When I pull up, what do you think somebody's paying me to speak now? They're paying me $1,000 to speak, to show up now. I'm the background dude. I ain't the dude I'm on TMZ one day a week. But it counts, right? Your grind. They hired me. Let me tell y'all. And I was supposed to be on yesterday. I moved it till tomorrow so that you can see it after this interview. I'm on Tuesdays. I'm on TMZ 30 seconds. 30 seconds. $200 paycheck. 30 seconds of work. Not much money. Not much time. Not much clout. But if somebody church wants to bring me over, guess who pays? Guess what they paying for? They're paying for TMZ. They're paying for Breakfast Club. I'm that guy. So I had to learn to leverage the business. Again, the title of this thing is being versatile in the business. You just have to learn. You don't have to be the star. And I'll add this to it. Do y'all think for 1 second that Burger King cares that McDonald's is number 1? Do you think they even remotely care? If you said no, they don't care. Do you think Adidas and Under Armour care that Nike's number 1? No. They're making billions. So for all my people that want to be the star, great, shoot for it. I still want to be the star. But I'm doing very well in my career, 20 years into the game, where I am and just maneuvering through the business. I've never went without a job. I created Blessed Beatz, which is a Christian hip hop. Let me just tell you the end of that. That took off so well, going viral with those interviews. iHeart looked at it and said, man, what is this Blessed Beatz? Now, iHeart has 93.7, The Beat. They got a beat in New Orleans. They got a beat in Miami. They got a beat in Philly, right? I was thinking national. So when I created something called The Beatz, you can put it on any station, and that's exactly what they did. But guess what? At this time, I owned it. I owned the LLC. I owned the rights. So they had to pay me. They had to pay me for my brand. And it goes with me forever. I leave, and I'm going to tell you how I got here today, and this will be the end of the story. I ended up leaving. Blessed Beatz got so big. I ended up building my own internet studios and giving people a full platform. And 91.7 NGEN at the time, my weekend Blessed Beatz show, 1 day a week, was bigger than the radio station, bigger than 91.7 NGEN at one point. And so I'm talking in my DM with the program director, and he was just like, man, if you think we could collaborate one day. And I was like, really? And so they called me again. I never applied to NGEN. I'd never applied for it, right? And I'll say this before I say the end. Going back to the beginning of my story, to the point where I said, this is the rest of my life. The dream was to be Tom Joyner. The dream was to be Charlemagne. The dream was to be your own morning show with your name on it and lights. I did all of that. I told you that whole story. Easter Sunday, which is now to be 3 years ago, I'm driving down 288 and my phone rings and it's NGEN. And they said to me, Marcus, we've been praying and God told us that you are the face of this radio station. And come May the 7th, I think that was the start date, we want to launch Marcus in the Morning. Y'all, I had to pull over. And I literally pulled over at the Buc-ee's on 2234. Y'all seen The Pursuit of Happiness? Did you see The Pursuit of Happiness? That was me. I get out the car and I'm like, oh, wait, what? I'm on a conference call just crying, like all cool out the way, no professionalism. And they was like, wait, what's going on? Because it's a job to them. This is a job to them. HR is calling me. program directors calling me. 20 years, well, at the time, 18 years. 18 years of that grind. Somebody calls you. I never applied, y'all. I never applied. And they tell me, we're launching Marcus in the morning. So that's on Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 10, Marcus in the morning. And I prayed about it. And I tell myself, even though I own my own brand, God has gave it to me so good that I tell myself, I will leave this place better than I found it. So I go that hard every day, because every day I look at that. Even this morning, I'm on the air and I'll catch a glimpse of myself in a mirror or a reflection. And I literally would laugh, because I was the guy that was carrying speakers, y'all. That was me. That's you right now, that's looking for a job and trying to start a podcast. That's you. And so I tell people, my story is so real. I don't have a rich uncle. I'm not born into the business. You know what I mean? I'm the dude that's I'm not even from here. And my whole career happened right here. Never left. Mad Hatter comes from another city, right? My whole career, J-Mac has been here forever on one station. Name a person that's done as much, being versatile, TV, radio, and did not have to leave the city. I'll wait. So that's my story, bro. Sorry it took so long.
Nah, man, I appreciate the detail. I mean, you've addressed so many things in that. I mean, I feel like you captured the theme in a story. And throughout the week, we've been talking about, the power of storytelling. I think you took that and demonstrated it in the process of demonstrating.
I'm gonna write a book one day, and it's gonna knock some people out, because I'm just like, I still trip out of my own story. Real talk, I trip out of my own story.
As long as you do the audio book version where you narrate it yourself, so we can get that same sort of intensity.
Absolutely.
So I got to follow up. You've mentioned where you come from and the things you had to go through to get to where you are. So coming from jobs where you're getting paid very little, jobs where there's instability and things are, stations are closing. How do you come out of that and then have the power to be confident enough to say no to these high profile opportunities? Where does that come from?
I will say this, and now I'm preaching to the choir too. Never stop applying, right? Well, now that I have my own, I guess I don't have to do it so much anymore. But as much as you want to work for a company, or as hard as you go for a company, it's not your company, right? You can build it. You just heard me say I'd go hard for NGEN every day. But if they wanted to, click, they can go do something else. It's not my company. So I have the confidence in my own ability. And everywhere you go is an opportunity. And you guys, we're communications people, right? Yes, we want to do radio, TV, pop. Yes, that's what we want to do. But if you think about it, remember at the beginning of my story, I said it was 100 of us in one class. Imagine every job having 100 interns, and every semester, my communication people that are watching right now, every semester you graduate, think about the nation of communication degrees is coming not year, every semester. That's your competition. So you have to be every place, you have to have, you guys ever heard of the term, the gift of gab? Everywhere I go, I'm trying to talk to somebody. It could be Discount Tire. Believe you me, they got a communications director job somewhere there. It's probably a 6-figure job, right? So that's where I get my confidence from, man. I thoroughly love what I do, but at the same time, every time you do something, there's a business opportunity in it. I remember, Derek, and I'm gonna tell a story. When we first started talking before the ice storm of 2021, we started talking and finding out we got a lot of things in common to work on. But that's how it happens, man. So if the door closed, or
it's 3:00,
if a door closes, or money is not your option. And then remember, when I was telling the story, I was telling y'all where the money was. I never said I took a job because it paid a lot. At this second, I really don't care what a job pays, because if I'm in my purpose, I cannot lose, right? You got your support system, and you got the people behind you that believe in you. You can have all the confidence in the world, because if it's in you, you're going to make something out of it. Now, if you're trying to be a star, good luck. Good luck. Now, if I ever become that star, let's go. But right now, I'm a worker bee. I'm at the top of my chain right now, but I'm still a worker bee.
So can you talk a little bit about the life of a morning show host. You know, you talked about that as kind of the culmination of the story, right? You get this position. So what's it like? What's your schedule? You know, what kind of work goes into creating the show?
All right, y'all see these bags under my eye? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, all right. I'm gonna say one word, two words, two phrases, I should say. Discipline and being a self-starter are the two things that will keep you to even have a morning show. Forget talent. Discipline and being a self-starter. Think about this. We're in 2021. If breaking news happens right now, I have to be able to, tomorrow morning, which is 12, 15 hours away from now, be able to give you that story as if it's brand new. Right? Back in the day, news at 5, news at 9. Now, news happens when this joint goes off, right? So, discipline. I have to always be on game. I would turn my camera, but I got the news on. I'm getting alerts while I'm talking. Like, I have to be disciplined because this is what I want to do. So for those people that just want a show, the show not over at 10 a.m. The show is only over on Friday for a little bit, right? It's got to really be in you, right? I got my whole man cave designed for my business, right? Because PV might want me to jump on, right? You got to be disciplined like that to that point, right? Also, hey, I go to bed at 8:30. My day is over at 8:30 because I can go out and I can turn up and I can have the bags under my eyes tomorrow, but I got to do TMZ. I can't be looking tired, right? I got to go do 2 hours with PV. I can't be tired. So Marcus, you got to go to bed, right? Hanging out and scrolling social media, that's cool. But when it's time to perform, if you're not up to par, it's just like sports. If my morning show is not good and I'm the only one, it's Marcus in the morning. I don't have a producer. In fact, if you're watching this, holler at me. I don't have a producer for Blessed Beats. It's me, right? And so if the content is not good, if the show's not good, if my energy is not good, there goes my job. You look at sports. Let Tom Brady start playing bad. Let LeBron start playing terrible. Well, it's LeBron. But let him start playing terrible. The Lakers will find a way to say, thank you very much, sir. You know what I mean? You've been great. Thank you. So discipline and being a self-starter, right? My morning show starts at 6 a.m. I live in Pearland. The station is at Bush Intercontinental. I got a 48-minute drive without traffic every day. I got to be a self-starter. When that alarm goes off at 3:50 and I get up and I do my little push-ups and my sit-ups, wake up and get in that, wifey's still asleep. The kids, they sleep. Nobody at the radio station is going to say, is Marcus here on time? No. If I'm running late, I'm rushed. And if I show up late, nobody's going to say anything. Nobody will say one word if I show up late. But ask me, have I ever missed or showed up late? Never. Because it means that much to me. Right? So if you have something like a morning show, even if you have listen, it's more people going to be watching this that got a podcast than a morning show. Your podcast, if you get 2 likes or 2 views, honor that as if it was the Super Bowl. Because you need to give that energy every time. You can't be like, it's just 2 people watching. This week I ain't gonna show up. Because the day that Coca-Cola says, let me see your resume tape, all you got is, I'm just gonna wing it. Ain't nobody watch. That's what you got. So every day, I'm talking to y'all with the same passion I talk to when I'm doing TMZ, right? Because I got one opportunity. You know what I'm saying? When we get off of here, man, I may never, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be able to have that self-starter and that discipline to do something like, I'm using morning show, but to do your podcast, to do your blog, everything. So.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's people in the comments, so they're taking notes. They hear what you're saying. So I think you got some valuable things being shared here. Evelyn's a radio person, so it's definitely meaningful to her.
Okay.
I want to ask a question about the differences between working for an established station versus your own platform with Blessed Beats. So you're doing both. Yeah. I just wonder, how do those things compare to one another? What are the pros and cons of each?
Pros, bigger platform, working for a company that's established, that has the airwaves, that has the whole machine behind it, the marketing, the billboards, all of that. That's the pro. The cons is I'm getting dings right now from corporate telling me to do stuff. Man, Marcus, can you read this I should read an email to you. Can I read this for Easter? Can you do this? Can you do that? I need you to do this. Don't say that. We can't talk about this. Oh, we can't talk about George Floyd, because that's when you're working for somebody, right? With Blessed Beatz, I get to design it. I get to design it and go, you don't like the fact that I have a hoodie? You want me to show up a shirt and tie? That's not my brand, so pick another brand, right? I get to pitch to companies, to companies that I want to brand with. For example, and I'll give y'all the business side. I'm pitching, you can see it on my Instagram now. I do commercials for Under Armour, right? And I'm pitching to Beatz headphones now. Get it? Beatz. I'm pitching the Beatz right now because they don't have anything faith-based and hip-hop. But if I can't match, if Beatz didn't match, or if Under Armour didn't match what my brand is, I couldn't deal with them. So my brand at NGEN or let's say TMZ is not into whatever. I have to follow the rules of working for somebody else. But that's why I would always say yes, man. To my entrepreneurs out there, salute. I want to be just an entrepreneur. That's what I want to do at the end of this career. But for right now, I'm gonna go take this bag and work for this company and leave it better than I found it. And I'm gonna launch my own, and I'm gonna take the same skill sets and the same energy and the same effort and the same attitude that I give this company, my energy. For example, I did a morning show, 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. this morning, drove the Humble, you know what I mean? And now I'm here. I'm talking about NGEN because I work there, but I'm representing my brand right now, right? And I'm giving you the same energy. So I think that's the pros and cons. I hope I answered it.
Yeah.
I see you, Dexterious. Yes, I see you, bro.
Yeah. So throughout your story, you've talked about, phases where you were doing at least 2 jobs at a time, and now you're doing kind of 3 jobs at least.
I had 6 at one time. real talk. I had 6 at one time, but I ain't gonna even get into that. But go ahead.
So let's talk about, how do you deal with, managing these different jobs, especially when you have one of them that is yours, that's your brand that you built. Do they ever come in conflict with one another, being at NGEN, being at TMZ, being at Blessed Beatz? And how do you manage those sorts of tensions?
Okay, I'm gonna add to that too, because this is even more important than the companies or the jobs. The ambition, the striving for greatness. My biggest conflict, you would think, would be jobs, but it's wife and kids, right? I have to make sure that when I step out of the house, I'm the best media figure, the best radio personality. I got my hair on point, right? But when I walk through the door, they care nothing about Marcus in the morning. Y'all go take the trash can out. You know what I mean? Let's get this piggyback ride going. So that's the biggest conflict, to where you trying to close a deal and play catch at the same time, right? That's my biggest conflict. But comparing the two, like jobs and stuff, a real story is just this past December, I released a book. I released an audio book. Right. And I was just basically using my platform because I knew it would take off. I pray on the radio every day. Right. I do this prayer on the radio every day. And I get to a point I think it was like 220,000 listening to the prayer every day. Right. The business me came in and said, oh, y'all like the way I pray? Let me go right here to this studio, this Blessed Beatz studio, and record 31 of them and drop a 31-day devotional. Right. I did that right here. Right. But the fact that I pray on the radio, conflict of interest. I dropped this book, and Fox 26 did a whole story about the power of prayer and hip hop. And this guy got tattoos and hair, and NGEN said, nope, you got to take that down. Conflict of interest. You can't pray. Well, it's funny because I can pray over my food. I can bless this room right now. And that's not a conflict of interest. But the fact that I dropped a book that I can get paid for, because I'm known for this on the radio, made a conflict of interest. So you just have to find the fine line. And I would tell people, listen, don't cut no corners. If you and a lot of people is like, no, Marcus, that's your book. It blessed my soul, right? But at the same time, what did I say? I signed the contract to work for NGEN. So I'm gonna play by y'all rules, right? As best I can. Now, the day that I decide to say, nah, I'm gonna go do my own thing, I'm doing them like they would do me. Thank you. You know, so, but that's it.
All right, I think we got a question from Evelyn. So she says, as someone that wants to go deeper in CHH, so Christian hip hop, and those subgenres in radio and media, what can I do? I currently volunteer producing with an online CHH radio station in Houston.
Evelyn, all right. One, Evelyn, write in the comments, what station is doing CHH if it ain't Blessed Beats? Because that's the only one that exists, ma'am. I'm just letting you know. But no, how can you go deeper? I would say our subgenre doing Christian hip hop. I ask artists all the time, how come we're not as big as the mainstream? And I honestly think the reason why, and Evelyn, if you're a CHH person, you know the songs and the bars, and man, it's on point with the Baby and Cardi and Dre. It's just the same. It's just the message is different. So you get that part. But why isn't it as big? People like us, we're the reason, right? If we can say KB and Lecrae and Andy is bringing all of this talent and swag to the industry, but all they have is their Instagram and their SoundCloud and their to promote it on. No wonder why Lecrae got 9 million Instagram followers, right? But how many CHH radio stations are across the country? Even the one that you intern at, right? You guys need to take the attitude of a Shade Room or the Baller Alert and mimic it, right? And I think so for us communication people, we need to have more vehicles and more outlets. Like, you know, there's the Rapzilla, but you got blessedbeats.com. You know what I'm saying? Like, it needs to be more. You start a website, and it needs to be more of it to spread that message. And I think that's how we go deeper. And if that inspires you to do your own, cool. If it inspires you to continue to work at your internet station, cool. If it desire for you to slide in my DM, let's talk after the show. All right. So, but I will say, man, whatever we can do as far as the CHH subgenre to make it go deeper and broader, do it. And then I will say this on the business side, somebody's going to come along. If it's not me, it could be you, Evan, right? Somebody's going to come along and come up with the next big media platform for this subgenre because it doesn't really exist. NGEN might be the biggest. That's why I can tell people I got the biggest morning show in the country because the NGEN is in the 4th largest city in America, and I got the morning show. There are other Christian hip hop stations, but none bigger than a city with 7 million people in it, right? So your little blog, can be that big. You just got to put it out there and believe in your product.
Great advice. I want to ask at least one more question before we run out of time. I see we got about 10 minutes or so in our time block. Let me ask this. In your story, you talked about, the experiences you had and how those experiences built the versatility that you have now. But for our students who are, currently, at that stage in their careers, how do you build the skill set that you need to thrive and to survive in the media industries of today? Like, what skills do you think a student needs to start building right now if they want to be able to go out there and be versatile?
I'm gonna sound so old when I say this. Oh, I'm gonna sound like my old dad. All right, y'all. Writing. Can you write? Right? I ain't talking about text. Can you write? Can you AP write? Can you blog write? Can you swag write? Can you write? Right? The art of writing is so gone because everybody wants to be on camera. But again, I will say this. Every news station, every radio station has a website. People have to write on those things. The skill set of writing will get you so much further. And I will say this too. The skill set of your social media page. Now, that might sound like, wait, what did he say? A skill set? Your Instagram page is a skill, y'all. What you post on there is I don't want to see your resume. Don't nobody send me a message and say, let me send you my resume. Send me your IG. Open it up. Don't make it public. In fact, my communication people on here, if you got a private page, you're doing yourself a disservice in the first place, right? But your social media page and the art of writing is the skill sets you need because your brand will have somebody go, yo, we've been praying and you are our morning show. Your brand will do that. not your resume. They didn't ask me what I did. They didn't ask me about All-Star Weekend. They said, man, we've been praying and you the guy for us. That's what they told me, you know. So those skill sets, your skills of writing will get you. And if you can write, if you can paint a picture with words, you can call your own shots.
All right. That's a message we've heard multiple times this week. So if you've been watching, writing, don't underestimate it. It's something that I think we as professors sometimes struggle getting people to take seriously. But when you hear it from people who are out there doing it, hopefully it rings a little bit differently for you. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to have to wrap just for the sake of time, but I don't want to do so without giving you an opportunity. If there's anything else you would like to add or any kind of final advice. Right. I know that we got some students who might now be interested in Blessed Beatz and, you know, this opportunity for that as well. So.
All right. Okay. So, yeah, we talked about money, social media, podcasts. You're going to hear stuff like the future of radio might be going away. And a lot of you young people might not even listen to radio anymore. Cool, right? You plugging it in, you're getting you're listening to podcasts. That's all radio. It's just like saying your tablet is your typewriter. It's just a different form of listening to stuff. So when you hear us say radio, yeah, you might not listen like that, but advertisers still pay. So radio technically is not going anywhere. We're just talking about blogging and writing. That's a form of radio in a sense, right? Because you still can get your endorsements and your sponsorships off of that. So stay focused, stay the course. If it's your own podcast. Speaking of your own podcast, if you do your own podcast, my best advice to you is to take the person that you look up to and get rid of them. All right. There's already one Angela Yee. There's already one Charlemagne. There's already one Howard Stern. If you're trying to be a carbon copy of them, I might as well give them another radio show. Be yourself. You are good enough. All right. Again, your social media is your resume. Right? If your platform, your blog site, I mean, if you go show Fox that you got 40,000 people looking at your blog, you can have a job next week. They will create one for you. I guarantee it. Right? Blessed Beatz is a CHH platform. I am now thank you to the banks. I am in a position now that I am looking for bloggers. I'm not looking for the next radio star. I'm sorry. I'm not looking for the next person to be a co-host. I'm sorry. But salespeople, if you want to get paid, sales is a place to go. If you can sell the content, you can sell. If you could talk to artists about getting on the show, talk to me. I have a job for you. Bloggers, I may have a job for you. Video bloggers, if you can handle social media, you can go to the. I don't know if you can write this in the comments, but the Blessed Beatz Instagram is just like mine. You see, mine says Marcus Sullivan Live. It's Blessed Beatz with a Z. Blessed Beatz Live on Instagram. You can look it up on YouTube and Facebook. But I'm all for helping our people. If you guys want to create, if you say, man, I don't know if you ever had this and you got something you want to create, or you see, hey, let's talk. We can use your gift on the platform to expand your gift, and I don't want anything for it. All right. Just saying that. But I'm here. I'm always available. I'm never the star that don't talk to people because I'm a regular dude. So thank you. Derek. But yeah, so I am here for that. Those are the needs. I need interns. I need people who just want to grind it out. And I'm sure you can talk to Derek or whatever and get you some school credit for it, figure it out. But I'm going to put you to work. And trust me, that superstar stuff is not going to happen. Just let you know. All right. But that's it, man.
All right. Yeah, I mean, we really appreciate this. Give a virtual hand, at least to Mr. Marcus Sullivan. He's given us all kinds of gems today in terms of not only his own story, but some advice for those of you who are in the seat of a student right now. I would encourage you, if you missed the beginning of this conversation, you need to get this story from the start in order to fully appreciate how far he's come. As I said earlier, this was our last streaming session of COMM Week this year. Tomorrow is devoted to the career fair. And so if you haven't registered, you can do so on Handshake. And then, of course, Friday is a holiday, so there won't be any school activities that day. But again, I want to thank Marcus. I want to thank all of our panelists who we've had this week, as well as all of our moderators who helped to make this possible. pvmutb.org/COMM week is where you can go to revisit any of the sessions Monday through today. I would encourage you to go back if you missed anything and take a chance to really go through with a notepad and a pen, or open notes in your computer, so that you can take down some of this information and really use it to your advantage. This whole week has been about trying to create opportunities for you, opportunities to learn, opportunities to grow, opportunities to connect. And so we hope that you've done that. I also want to give a very special thanks to TDV. We all know Professor TDV is somebody who works tirelessly on behalf of the department. And, I really can't think of anybody who's more dedicated and who cares more about our students and about our program. And so she's been behind the scenes this whole time, making sure that everything is streaming in the right place at the right time, making sure that the finished product is polished, doing things that, she didn't have to do. And so we're just thankful for the things that she was willing to offer up her time and energies for. So, for the last time, I want to thank you for joining us in this new virtual format. I know it's not quite the same as being there in person, being able to go up and shake hands and really talk to these people after the session is over. But I still hope you got something useful, some useful insight out of attending these sessions, even if it's just one idea. So have a good rest of the day. Join the career fair tomorrow, and hopefully you'll use this advice to kind of carry you forward. Have a good one.